Hello and welcome to Bedtime Story with Miss Anna. Are you ready to go to sleep? Kiss your mommy, kiss your daddy. It's time for story time. Tonight, we have a really nice book from Little People Big Dreams called Ruth Bader Ginsburg. This is the story of a Jewish girl from New York called Ruth. Her mother was the bravest, strongest, and most intelligent person she knew. She taught Ruth to be a lady, which meant being her own independent self. The first step to being independent is to have a good education, something Ruth's mother never had. She was forced to drop out of school to help pay for her brother to go to college, but she had big plans for Ruth. Sadly, just before Ruth graduated from high school, her beloved mother died. Ruth made a promise she would do all the things her mom would have done if she had lived at a time when daughters were cherished as much as sons. Ruth earned a college scholarship at Cornell, where she met another student called Martin. He was the first man she had ever known who cared that she had a brain. He became the love of her life and the one in charge of the kitchen. They were partners, raising their family together while training to become lawyers. But not everyone saw women and men as equals. One day, a teacher accused Ruth and 8 other women of each taking up a man's space in a class of 550 students. But Ruth had learned by her 14th Amendment of the Constitution, her country's highest law. She knew that it saw no difference on gender. All people were equal citizens with equal rights. She graduated from law school as one of the top students in her class and went to study in Sweden. Here, women were supported to develop their talents and succeed in their careers while raising their children. Back home in the US, she became a professor and the leader of a feminist law group working on groundbreaking cases to achieve equal rights for everyone. But feminism isn't just about girls, and Ruth's clients were not only women. Ruth won hundreds of cases, and every tiny trump was a big step towards equality. Before the Supreme Court, the highest court of all, she convinced the whole bench to apply the 14th Amendment to end gender discrimination. Ruth has been a judge for years when the president asked her to join the Supreme Court. She was the second woman to ever sit on its benches. One of Ruth's major cases was against a military school that wouldn't allow female cadets to join. Ruth persuaded all justices to get rid of all that unfair rule, all but one, Antonin Scalia. He and Ruth disagreed, but they were still great friends. They admire each other's work, and they enjoy going to the opera together too. Ruth was a grandma when she defended the Voting Rights Act, which said that no one should be denied the right to vote because of their skin color. She lost that battle, but she gained the hearts of a new generation of law students. After a long life fighting for equality, little Ruth became all that her mother dreamed she could be and more, an inspiration for those who believe that by making fair and equal laws for everyone, we can transform people's lives. This is Ruth Bader Ginsburg, born in 1933 and died in 2020. I have one more book for you. Our next book is from Little People Big Dreams, Jane Austen. The Austen family lived in the heart of the English countryside. Every evening there were 8 children seated at the table for dinner: James, George, Edward, Henry, Francis, Charles, Cassandra, and little Jane. At that time, girls were only allowed to do things like singing, sewing, and housework. Jane and her sister Cassandra found being a girl a bit of a pain. However, Jane's father ran a school and taught the sons of wealthy men. One day, he asked his daughters to join their classes and learn the same thing as the boys. Jane loved to read. She always chose a book instead of her dolls and spent endless hours in her parents' library. Jane and her siblings would often write and perform their own plays. She came up with the best stories and soon realized she wanted to become a writer. Every night, her seven brothers and sisters sat around the fireplace. They loved listening to Jane's stories until it was time to go to bed. One evening, Jane was at a ball and met a young man named Tom. As they talked, they fell more and more in love with each other. But Tom's family thought Jane wasn't good enough for their son, and instead of fighting for what he wanted, he proposed to a rich heiress to please his family. Jane decided to write a similar story to this, but with a much happier ending, and so the novel Pride and Prejudice was born. A daring girl named Lizzie was its heroine. Jane kept on writing about young women who were brave enough to make their own choices and who never gave up. When her first book came out, many people loved it, but Jane decided to keep her name a secret. Jane went on to write 7 novels full of grace and talent. Little did she know that one day she would be considered one of the greatest writers in the world. Little Jane would be happy that the books she once wrote and the ones we still love reading today. This is Jane Austen, born in 1775 and died in 1817. I have one more book for you tonight. Our next and last story is from Little People, Big Dreams, Michelle Obama. On the upper floor of a humble house on the south side of Chicago, a little girl called Michelle was growing up. Every night she put her stuffed friends to bed, telling them the same thing her parents told her: study hard and be great. Her school was down the street, but she dreamed of studying at the best universities, something her parents never had the chance to do. For Michelle, education was about becoming the best person she could be, someone like her dad. When she got older, Michelle took a long trip every day to attend a high school for top achievers on the other side of the city. There, all the students looked different, but were all very much alike. They shared a passion for learning. Princeton, one of the most prestigious colleges in the world, was her next goal, but one of her teachers didn't think she would be good enough. Far from being discouraged, Michelle was determined to prove her wrong. Michelle did not just get accepted, she became one of the finest graduates. She even found time to run a care center for minority students like her. She was always there to give good advice and a friendly hug. From Princeton, she went to Harvard, and from there right into a fancy office in Chicago. Michelle was now a very busy lawyer. She still, after a long day at work, she loved to join her parents for dinner. One day, Barack Hussein Obama, a promising law student, came into her office. Michelle became his mentor, but they soon realized they shared a love for family and education and a strong desire to help those less fortunate. The day Michelle's father died was one of the saddest ever. His life and love for others inspired Michelle to quit her job and join Public Allies, a non-profit organization that helps young students become leaders. When Barack decided to run for president of the United States, Michelle stood next to him. She was his teammate, his friend, his wife, and the mother of his 2 daughters. For them, it was the whole Obama family running. Barack became the first African American president of the United States, and Michelle, a first lady like no other. The presidential White House, built by enslaved black people 200 years before, was now a black family home. Growing fruits and vegetables on the lawn, Michelle realized she has found her number one cause: food and fitness. It was not just her daughter menu she wanted to look after, but the health of young people all over the country. She encouraged schools, parents, and children to play sports and eat nourishing food at home. Michelle traveled the world inspiring government to build a brighter future for their countries by improving girls' education. And whatever the future brings for little Michelle, she will keep touching people's hearts and souls because she knows that once you have made your dreams come true, it's your job to help others to do the same. This is Michelle Obama, born in 1964. I hope that you enjoyed the bedtime story for today. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Good night, good night, good night.